Welcome. I am so glad that you were here. Listen, we've got a great program for you today because I wonder if you've ever either seen from afar or been a part of yourself a relationship that was so far gone. I mean, so much betrayal, so much resentment, so much hurt, so much bitterness. You never ever thought there could ever be enough forgiveness in the world to sort of be a healing salve over a wound like that one. Well, we've got a story today that is going to reshape your view on how relationships can be restored after incredible brokenness. This is going to be a good one. Pull up a chair and join us. Have you ever wanted to meet a couple or a person so badly? You've just been looking forward to the conversation. You're just excited about how much depth is going to be in that conversation, how your life is going to be enriched once you walk away from just sharing a cup of coffee with them and a few wonderful, deep words, authentic words about their life. That's how I feel about Bob and Audrey Meisner. I cannot wait to hear all the elements of their story that make it so rich, because the reality is the redemption that's there, the forgiveness that's there, the hope that you find in their story will cause you to look at your own relationships in a brand new way. Excited to have this conversation. Would you please all help me to welcome Bob and Audrey Meisner.
Wow. Thank you for the warm introduction.
Of course. Have a seat. Ooh, I've been waiting to talk to y'all.
You got it.
Been waiting.
It's happening right now.
I know, I'm looking forward to it. You guys have been married how long now?
32 years.
So 32 years. Y'all know that's no small thing,
32.
right? You do look 32.
Sorry for laughing.
I know, a little
This
much.
part, like this part right here,
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
like 32.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the grayness and the baldness.
No, you guys have been
I
married 32
say some guys
years.
are so
32
cute they don't
years.
even need hair.
That's right.
I told your husband that and he agreed. He showed.
Yeah.
He said, yeah.
Because
me
my
too.
husband's head looks a
Yeah,
little bit like.
pretty much the same.
That's exactly right. We got some good bald guys, don't we?
Yes, and we are loving it.
But you had a different story to tell. Let's see,
Yes.
about 17 years into your marriage.
Yeah.
You hit not just a little bumpy patch.
Right.
I mean, you hit something that was really life altering. Can you just tell us your story? Because I want to hear the details of your
Well,
story. And these folks need to hear it.
Nobody wants a story like this.
That's right.
No.
You know, nobody plans to have challenges and difficulties in your marriage. You always are looking forward to happiness ever after.
That's right.
And so when things like this happen, they catch everyone by surprise.
Yes.
But there are always contributing components, you know, that we bring into the marriage, you know, from our past, you know, from our cultures, from our customs, you know, first introductions, all those types of things. And it's almost as though it looks for the prime opportunity to reveal itself. When you're the weakest, when you're the most tired, and you just are feeling like an escape because you're giving everything that you've got.
And that was us. We're ministry people. We've been in ministry all our lives.
Okay.
And I I think everybody has a first memory of when they were the very littlest. You know what? Yeah, do you have a first memory, Priscilla?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Were you really little?
Probably about 4, maybe
Yeah.
4 or 5 years old. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That first memory?
Yep.
And mine is, I remember in the treehouse, I remember the surroundings around me, and I was twirling around singing Hosanna, Hosanna, Hosanna to the King of Kings. It was like I just loved Jesus all my life.
Okay.
And so I was that girl. My mom and dad loved God and in ministry, went to Bible school, met Bob. It sounds so awesome. I'm not telling you actually everything, okay, because we don't have enough time. We weren't just in love, we were in heat.
You were in.
Welcome to the interview.
This is what we're after.
Apparently you wanted authentic and real, so we're going to go there.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Okay, so actually Bob and I really wanted to get married bad and quick, fast.
Okay, so you did.
Yes.
Okay.
She's quickly rushing it along.
No, I'm glad you did. I'm just saying I'm glad you got married if you were in heat and stuff.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Bunnies were on the way.
That's
No, I'm
good.
kidding.
That's
No,
good.
no, we waited a little bit.
Yeah, we got married, had some kids, and I'm going to really fast forward this
okay.
quickly.
But what we loved about each other is that our passion for the Lord, to
Yeah.
really be world changers. We didn't want to just live a normal life. And so that was a real passion that we carried
And I actually love
together.
that you've set this backdrop, because it really does help to see with more clarity what happened in your
Yes.
life when you share that, because I think sometimes folks see people that are in the position you're describing, see it from afar and assume that everything's going to go so well with them because of their passion for the
Well,
Lord.
and
or
that's what
because
we
of their-
thought.
That's right.
And
And
absolutely
it looked
what we thought.
so good on the outside, Priscilla. Like, seriously, you get good at being professional Christians. You just know when you got to put that smile on, and when you the love for people was genuine. But I'm going to tell you what happened. I started giving, to the point where, did you know that you give so much and you eventually will snap if you're not receiving? And I call it under the waterfall of the
Yep.
friendship and favor of God. If you're not living under that waterfall of his friendship and his intimacy, and you continue to give, you become dry so quick, and you're giving with nothing left to give. But I was such a pleaser that I couldn't tell myself to stop. I just kept adding more activity to my life to get busier and busier and help more and more people. We started working full time, and then we added upon that pioneering a church. Okay, that is just
so,
nuts.
So tell us what the snap looked like, what
Okay.
that issue was in your
Yes.
marriage, and how that played out, and
Okay.
then we can go and backtrack and kind of
Sure.
see what were the things that sort of contributed to that.
Okay,
Tell
so
us what happened.
I was giving out of a dry place. We were pastoring a church. I was doing everything. I was exhausted, but I kept giving because I thought that's what good Jesus girls do. And so at that point, a young guy starts coming to our church, and he starts saying things like, "Oh my gosh, does anyone see how much work you're doing around here? You know, can I help you?" And I went, "Oh, that's so nice. Yes, you can help." You know, and then it was turning into, "You are so beautiful. If only I could meet a girl, you know, half as beautiful as you one day," and all this. And I was like, "Oh, that's so sweet." You know,
And this is a guy how much younger than you?
well, he was like 22. I was 36 with 3 kids at that point. Our kids were 10, 12, and 15 years old. And this is what happened in my heart. I like to talk heart language. In my heart, I'm thinking, I am so glad that I can be friends with this guy, because I would never do anything inappropriate. You see, I love God. I love my husband. I would never. And I hope that those 3 words are impacting someone right now, because when you say "I would never," you're actually full of spiritual pride, because you're saying, "I don't need God there." And I was saying, "I have this in control. I can have this."
Okay.
And so it was just a matter of time, because there's no such thing as a small compromise. You see, "Oh, I can hang out. We can go for lunch. We can drive together." You know, those are stupid rules.
And
you know.
did it start that way? You just
For
hanging
years,
out?
for
Just-
years.
For years, just hanging out.
Yeah, friends. He helped
And did you know that they were just hanging out?
all the
Because
time.
was there any worry with the just hanging out?
There wasn't a lot of worry, you know, because there was such an age difference, and you know, I don't want to get into the character of this person, but there was a moment in time where, you know, I sat with Audrey over lunch and I said, "Hey, I'm not liking this. You know, I don't like what's going on. There's things that are interrupting our family life." And yet she gave me absolute confidence, you know, everything's fine, everything's okay, don't worry about it. And so, you know,
Okay.
there were enough warning signs. However, you never really, because we loved each other so much, and when pride takes over, it's completely blinding.
It is.
And there, as Audrey said, there's no such thing as a small compromise, because sin is never satisfied. It always demands more, and it'll take you further than you've ever intended on going, and you stay there longer than you ever intended on staying.
And also-
it robs.
I'll tell you what,
Sure.
when that friendship turned into a sexual affair, because it did, you see, he was watering that dry place in my heart, and I was going there, and I started to become addicted to this feeling of the words he would give me, and I started to love this whole thing, and so it became a sexual affair, and then now I'm carrying a secret. Now this is, you want to invite complication into your life, just write a letter to sexual sin, because it complicates your life.
And so it wasn't one time.
No,
it was an affair.
3 weeks. It was an affair, and it was emotional. It was the whole thing. For 3 weeks it lasted, and then I could take it no longer. I told him to move away. I broke up with him, and then I was going to keep that secret, Priscilla, for the rest of my life. And I promised Jesus, I will never do this again. Nobody knows. And I am never, oh Jesus, you know, oh Jesus, oh Jesus. And I felt
And that was your intention.
yeah, until I said, "Oh, Jesus," and I heard his whisper in my heart. And he says, "Audrey, you've got to tell Bob." I felt it so strong, like that. You know, when the Holy Spirit, just like you can't even rest. It was like the enemy loves darkness. He loves secrets. And that very secret, I just knew in my spirit was going to drive a wedge into the intimacy that we had shared for all those years.
Did you think that the secret would drive more of a wedge between you than the truth?
Yes.
Okay.
Somehow my heart knew that the secret was worse than the act. It was done.
See, that's hard. That's really hard to say because most of us think the opposite.
It's
that
logical
the truth
to think
is
the
actually going to
opposite.
be worse in this dynamic, in this marriage, or in this friendship. If I tell the truth, it's going to cause more harm.
Well, sure. Okay, wait a minute. My mind said that. My spirit said, go tell him.
Okay.
Do you do what I'm saying? My
Okay.
mind, my logic said, no, just keep a secret. But my heart, you see, Jesus doesn't leave us when we're stupid.
I'm so glad.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Hashtag that one. I've never said that one before. You drew it out of me, Priscilla. You just drawn it out.
So let me ask you this, back up just a
Okay.
little bit. When you're saying to the guy, move away, this is over, was that not easy emotionally? I'm asking, did he move away? Was
he
there an
left the
easy,
city.
clean break?
He left the city and I have never talked to him since.
Okay. So
There
that
was
a
no
clean break.
contact. It wasn't easy for my heart. I
Yeah.
felt like I was in love with him, which
Yeah.
sounds so weird to say right now.
Well,
but
when
it's
you're in a
real.
moment when you're in a season of deception, the
Yes.
hard part about deception is you don't know you're being deceived until you look back on it later and realize you were a crazy
Are
person.
you kidding me?
You have no idea that you were walking down a path, or that in the moment
When
you
you're
feel
in the
love.
moment, it's so nuts. You
It's
feel
so real.
junior high. Like
So
it's
how
crazy.
long between when you broke it off and then you decided to tell?
2
your
days.
husband? Okay, so 2 days. So you're awake at night, your
Yes.
gut is just
Yeah,
in knots.
exactly.
And you go to your husband and you say,
I was scared out of my
Well, of
mind.
course you were.
I'm not even a confronter. I'm the pleaser. I'm the sweet little sweetness and sunshine. Like that's my life. And I was scared of his anger anyway, you know. And I remember that day when I fell. I got him alone in the office, and I sat down, and I think I just hugged your feet, and I told you I had committed the sin of adultery.
And in that moment, what do? You see, I began to create images in my mind
Of course.
immediately of just leaving.
yeah.
I'm getting all emotional here.
Yeah.
Let me preface this because I want to be able to experience the emotion of the moment. You see, Jesus loves me on my worst day. And when we share our story, I always want to connect with the emotion. The memory will never leave, and the emotion is only the opportunity to be able to experience. But the emotion that I feel is that it was in that place that he loved me the most.
Yeah.
You see, so when you remember, it's just like, wow, he loved me. He embraced me, he held me, he walked with me through.
Yeah.
So on that worst day, you know, all I wanted to do was get everybody involved because this is what she did to me. I'm a pastor, I'm a leader, you know, in our Christian community. We're extremely public people with daily national Christian television. I mean, this is a big deal. So what I thought, I'll just leave and it'd only be a matter of time that she would be exposed. And so leaving that moment, I went to my office and I stared at a blank wall. And all I said was, Lord, help me. Holy Spirit, I don't know what to do. Help me. And it was just that simple act of humility. You know, rather than taking matters in my own hands, but acknowledging my need and just opening the door a little bit. And God began to create a rescue plan for my life. Because anything that I would have done would have prolonged the healing process. I would have complicated things. And
I don't want you to race past that right there, because most of us react in our anger, in our frustration.
Right.
There's a reaction, and you're saying that reaction, apart from humility before God, for
Right.
counsel, for
Right.
a tender heart toward his wisdom, you're saying that reaction could actually prolong the process of the healing that he wants to bring.
It really does, because you know, we quickly found out that we needed to be on a need-to-know basis. Who needed to know? And what I wanted to do is I wanted to let everybody know. I thought we need to get the elders and the deacons together. We need to create a committee so that we can discuss how we fix her, because she's the problem. But I call my friend, a pastor friend of mine, Leo. And the first question he asked me, he says, Bob, who knows? I said, nobody. He says, good, let's keep it that way. I'm like, say what? I mean, we got to get everybody involved. And he says, no, you just wait. He says, later tonight, we'll talk. I said, okay. So I went back and I told Audrey that I had called Leo. And so that evening, the children went to their grandparents and we sat staring at a speakerphone.
Talk about pain. We could hardly be in the same room with each other. I was so
Oh,
scared.
yeah. I was not pleasant.
I was so scared.
I was not civil.
No, you weren't. And what are
No.
you feeling? Are you just mortified at what's going to happen to
Mortified.
my family?
Shocked.
How old are your children at this point?
10, 12, and 15 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that evening, we just sat. And I was surprised because he was challenging me. And I was waiting for him to say, you know, Audrey, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
You know, how dare you do this? You know, and I was waiting for him to shame her, you know, and really, you know, give her the what to.
That's what we're always secretly hoping for. We're
Right.
always secretly hoping that the person who wronged us, offended us, betrayed us, whatever, that they're going to get it.
They're going to get it.
They're going to get it, and then it's going to all come down on them, and we can walk away with a little sense of self-righteousness over and above them.
So he's challenging me with the heart of God, the heart of a father. And he says, Bob, why won't you cover your wife? Proverbs 25:2 says, it's God's glory to conceal a matter and for a king to discover its understanding. You see, my father, he covers me.
Beautiful.
He doesn't shame me. He doesn't expose me. You know, when was the last time, Priscilla, you made a mistake? Repeatedly. And you went to the Lord, I'm so sorry. And he says, you know what, I've just about had enough. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to parade you in front of everyone and shame you for what you have done. When was the last time? Never.
That's great.
And he never will.
Never.
Because he's a father that covers.
Yeah.
In covering, there are two primary principles. The first is to protect, okay, to defend. And then the second is to promote healing. I'm being challenged as a husband and a father to cover my wife, to defend her, to fight for her, to protect her. And then secondly, the second component is that when you've been hurt or wounded, you know, you clean that wound, you suture it, and then you bandage it. You cover it again. The second component is to promote healing. I had no idea the depth of my responsibility as a husband to be redemptive love to my wife.
Would your response have been different had you discovered the affair and it wasn't over? Because I'm thinking of the person who's listening to you, and the affair that their spouse is in is not one that they put a stop to. It's one that is ongoing. Their heart is entangled. They say that they want to leave the relationship, but they
Right.
keep going back, keep making phone calls.
Right.
Would your response have been the same? Because I love what you're saying. It's exactly right. It's beautiful. Does it still apply
The thing
when the partner
is that
still
that
engaged?
you don't stand alone. You don't stand alone. What I wanted from my pastor and from my friend was I wanted sympathy. But sympathy never healed anyone. What I got was truth. And when you embrace the truth, even though it's opposing to your nature and to your intellect, when you embrace truth, you experience grace. And grace isn't an excuse, but rather grace is an empowerment of God to take the promises of God, to draw them to yourself and make them yours. There's a preferred future that God has for your life. Whether your spouse is repentant or changing or not, I can still embrace the truth of God and experience His grace that His realities would become mine. We can't blame our circumstances. So in our situation, because she was so emotionally and physically entangled, I'm telling you, it wasn't just days, it was weeks and months that she was still emotionally involved and wanted to call, wanted to go back, all of those kinds of things. I mean, that's tormenting to a guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Here's what I want to know. I need to know, how were you aware of everything that she was thinking and the longing she was still having for this guy? Are you just seeing her countenance, or is she telling you this stuff?
She would tell me. And not to, embarrass you in any way, but we had to find truth. Because this is a person I thought I knew, And we're facing this?
You know what happened is it was lies that got me to that point, and I had to, with the fear of God, and I say that in all reverence, I had to make some hard choices in my own heart because I have never liked conflict. I have never been had an ability to confront. I've never had I'm a pleaser. I say what people want to hear. I'm really good at saying what people want to hear.
So it was that's what I'm trying to get to. What would cause somebody who knows they are in hot water
Yes.
to take themselves deliberately and intentionally out of the covering of secrets and deception
Right.
and put themselves in a position where they know this is going to be hard, but they're continuing to speak truth? Most people don't have enough courage for that, enough resolve for that. And I just heard you say it was the fear of God that did it.
It was literally the fear of God. I woke up every morning. I said, God, help me to hate sin. I feel like I'm in love with this guy, but you hate sin. I want to be like you. I want to hate sin like you. Help me, help me, help me, God. And I had to put all the puzzle pieces of we couldn't get healed unless I put the puzzle pieces on the table, and it had to be truth. You know,
Okay,
you can't get healed.
We can't race past that right there, because what she's saying is she went to war for her own
Yes.
sense of sanity, for her own
Yes.
emotional stability. You did not trust in the way you were feeling. You did not let your feelings direct you anymore. You let the truth be your compass.
I had to be a lover of truth. I had never in my whole life been a lover of truth. I tell you today, I am a completely different girl, because even me, a pleaser, a lover, you know, like that kind of girl, I'm a lover of truth now. You see?
But you had to wake up and say, Lord, help me today.
I didn't pray, I begged God. I begged God to take those feelings away for that guy. I was scared out of my mind, but I chose to channel that fear into the fear of God, to know that what he says is real.
Did you think you were going to lose your family?
Let's let the plot thicken a little, because...
Well, we didn't know, and let me just jump in here on the fear of the Lord, because the fear of the Lord isn't the fear of Him.
No.
You know, to be disappointed
Got it.
or
It's this respect and reverence.
well, it's more than that. What it is it's the ability to be able to view sin the way He views
Yeah.
sin.
Yes.
Okay, to be able to have that same view and opinion of sin that He does, because when you participate with sin, you're participating with something that is not congruent with the truth of of the truest identity of who you are.
Right.
Sin,
it was against myself. Right.
Sin is participating with anything that isn't of your true nature. Okay, and so it's not just an activity of don't do this, but do this, but it's more participating with something that is not of your true nature.
And also, sin is just believing a lie that I'm going to get something I can't get from God. And so I believed in my heart that I needed that escape, and I needed that. It wasn't about the sex, I'm telling you right now. It was about the escape. I hated how busy my life was. I hate how I was always giving to everybody. You see, and I was so exhausted.
Yeah.
And you all very clearly did the hard work of restoration, the hard work of reconciliation. And I think if there's anything that we can walk away with this part one of our conversation, if we can walk away out of this part one of conversation and into part two in just a few minutes, it's that the resolution here that we're seeing, the health and the wholeness that we're seeing here, was not just work for you, and it wasn't just work for you. It was the two of you resolving together.
You know what?
That we're going to keep this marriage intact, and we're going to figure out how to walk down this road.
You said that very well. However, the next component of it really was the driving force.
Well, I know, and
Yeah.
we can't even start with that component yet, because we gotta end part one.
Okay.
We're gonna come back in part two.
Just
Go
jump
ahead.
in and say here, because when we first found out, we thought that we were going to be okay. You know, we thought that we were going to be okay, but, you know, it was about 36 hours, you know, after me finding out about the affair that we met with our pastor face to face. And he challenged me and he says, Bob, do you pray with your wife? And I had to answer him and say no. I knew what the right answer should have been, but I had to be honest. And he says, tonight you will pray with your wife. This is about midnight. That night we knelt beside our bed, held each other's hands, and looked deep into each other's eyes, and for 20 minutes we wept and we cried. And the only words we could get out were, God, we need you.
It's true.
God, we need you. For 20 minutes, we just wept and cried, God, we need you. You see, because a marriage isn't between a man and a woman. A marriage is between a man, a woman, and God. God's invested in our marriages.
Yeah.
That's what makes a marriage. And then after those 20 minutes, we were in our hotel room and we stood. There was a radio station playing a KYOT,
Yeah, we were in
smooth
Arizona.
jazz. And we stood up and we danced.
Yeah, we did. It was painful.
So I hope, that us being able to spend a little bit of time together would give opportunity for people to have a little glimmer of hope that God can restore the dance back to their marriage again.
Would you please help me to thank the Meisners for their story?